Hello, doing a quick recording here of Call of Duty Warzone. Today we're going to be testing the Intel i7-4790 paired with the RX 574GB video card. We're going to be playing with only custom settings, and then I will be going over some thoughts on this processor and GPU combination here. So these are the settings we're playing on, all at 1920 by 1080p. So it's a mix of normal, high, and low. They're kind of like pro settings, but I don't know what you want to call them. I'll quickly scroll through them here. And I just want to quickly touch on this processor and my thoughts. If you're going to be watching the statistics, they're up in the top left-hand corner of the screen there. We got MSI Afterburner running, so you can keep an eye out on the CPU, GPU usage, along with the frame rate and frame time graph. And yeah, as you notice, there was a stutter, and that's exactly what I was experiencing with this 4-core, 8-thread CPU. And quite frankly, I have not tested many 4-core, 8-thread CPUs, and it's for this specific reason, because today I was chatting with a bunch of people who watch my YouTube channel, and a lot of people are wondering how well are these 4-core 8-thread CPUs going to kind of last or survive moving forward, especially with like there being Ryzen options, or even getting like those older 6-core, 8-core Xeon processors. Obviously right now you can see our frame rates running really nice and smooth. We are pushing really high CPU usage. MSI Afterburner is only showing how much usage the game is actually using. And what I mean by that is I also have Task Manager open on the second monitor here for my test recording setup. And right now it's showing me we're running at about 85% CPU usage. And basically my point here is that if you're looking for something that's going to run smooth without stutter, this 4th gen i7 may not be enough anymore for running this game completely smooth. And basically the reason being is you only have 4 cores, 8 threads, and when you are pushing that high of the overall CPU usage, regardless of the single core performance, you are going to be running into stutter, because right now we're running, I think, CPU usage around 85%. And every time we get a stutter is when our CPU usage does hit that 100% mark. Then we stutter for a second, and I'm telling you, like, I've done a recording already on this, and I was in a fight, it stuttered, and I died. Like, not that I'm a good player, but yeah, one thing that you can do to help prevent the stutter is to cap your frame rate. That's one thing we will do in just a moment. We'll run around here a little bit more first. But you were noticing we're getting around 95 FPS. So currently at the frame rate indoors here, 92 FPS, we're at 90% CPU usage, or 87% CPU usage in Task Manager. Obviously MSI Afterburner is a little bit lower, but I hope you guys get the point here. Under advanced, we're just going to cap the frame rate. So a solid frame rate that I think would be good enough for us to play is, let's try 75 FPS, and if it makes a difference here in the game. And alright, 75 FPS limit, we will hit apply. And now our frame rate is a little bit lower, but our CPU usage, and according to Task Manager, we went from 90% down to about 78-74%. So hopefully this will help prevent that overall kind of like stutter when our CPU usage gets too high. Obviously, you guys are watching what I'm like doing here, so if it does stutter, it will pick up. But I'm finding that this 4th gen i7 is actually going to be better off capping and playing more around that 75 FPS mark. And that's where, if you are looking for an alternative to this 4th gen i7, or even if you have a little bit older, like 2nd or 3rd gen i7 as well, where you only have 4 cores and 8 threads, perhaps looking at the older X99, what are they called? The X99 processors may make sense, where you've got those older 8-core and 6-core CPUs. Obviously, ideally, if you have the money, you would save up for something like a new Ryzen 3600 or a Ryzen 3 3300X. Both of those processors are great options for gaming. But yeah, I'm just interested like to see how these processors also kind of age, because yeah, like as I was mentioning, or maybe I didn't mention here, but as I was talking with some of my viewers on my YouTube channel, it's kind of this 4th gen i7, even back in March, was running COD Warzone no problem, uncapped frame rate. But after many updates, and now we're in the middle of July, yeah, the frame rate has definitely taken a hit, in my opinion. Well, actually, not just my opinion. You guys can see here that we were running into some stutter in certain cases. Alright, the zone is closing in, so we will continue moving around. We are playing on the same visual settings from the beginning of the recording, so if you want, you can increase the visual settings, because we're not running 100% GPU usage. According to Task Manager, we are running at about 82%. I know MSI Afterburner does a pretty decent job of showing the GPU usage. In this case, it's not doing that superb job, so I'm just giving you guys a vocal representation of what the usage is here. And yeah, this is my personal test system, so it's not for selling or anything like that. But I just wanted to make this video to help you guys get a feel for like what is required to make a system run well here in 2020. And if you want something to, oh, there's loot there. And if you want something to actually last, and yes, our CPU usage did bounce to 100% there just for a moment. Interesting to make note of there. But yeah, it's kind of the big question, or the answer that I want to kind of help give is that, like, what's required to run these AAA title modern games like 75 FPS, 100 FPS plus smoothly without running into like this stutter, because a lot of people think it's just the GPU. I specifically chose the RX 570 here because it's not that powerful of a GPU at all things considered. Like other options there are like the GTX 1070, you have RX 580, even like the GTX 1660 Super. Those are also really good options that you can pair with this system and experience a pretty good, like, yeah, gaming experience, kind of like what we're having here. But what I want to show here is that 4 cores and 8 threads, especially like 4th gen i7 or older, which is like 3rd gen i7, 2nd gen, they're not going to be ideal for gaming moving forward anymore. And yeah, you can see right now running around at 75 FPS, CPU usage is staying around that 70-80% mark, which is, yeah, we're preventing pretty much any stutter from happening. So if you have yourself something like a 4th gen i7 computer, or even like a 3rd gen i7 overclocked, it may make sense to cap your frame rate to help prevent stutter. Alright, we'll continue moving along here. Yes, I could adjust the visual settings, but we're not testing the RX 570. It's more, we just want to see how does the 4th gen i7 at stock speeds perform here in Call of Duty Warzone. And yes, the truck is loud, it is annoying, but it does give us a good sense for, like, we're moving across the map, there's a lot of things loading in, and it's an easier way for me to benchmark versus running around and trying to fight other players. Yeah, staying around that 75 FPS mark, we get to prevent most stutter from occurring. Let's see if we can't find anyone. Airport, there's nothing up there, so we will back out a bit. Like, I mean, I could run around a bit more, but I think by now you guys should get a pretty good sense of what this CPU is capable of here in COD Warzone. Yes, there was another stutter, and it does suck. Like, even myself recording this, it feels bad when there's a stutter, but I want to show that so that if you guys are looking at different CPU options, and even myself, like, I thought that even like a 4th gen i7 might be a decent budget CPU, but now testing this here with you guys, yeah, I've kind of changed my mind. I might even start looking at, well, maybe I need a faster or higher clocked 4-core 8-thread CPU, something like an i7 7700K, or getting something like a new Ryzen 3 3300X, or of course, yes, the 10th gen i3. Those three kind of options would be my bare minimum for a 4-core 8-thread system. And as you guys just saw, even capping the frame rate at 75 FPS doesn't necessarily prevent oh, this is amazing. Do you guys know how good that feels? You just run around like this poor guy. What did he have? Nothing really. Let's see, is there anything good here? I really want to move before we get shot out. Yeah, this doesn't look too good. I will just run this, why don't we just run the Soviet AK? We will get back in the vehicle before we get taken out. What's the second weapon we're carrying? It's an LMG. LMGs are actually pretty decent. Let's see if we can't find some combat now. But yeah, it's fun to run people over. But kind of as I was saying, and the whole point of this video is just so you guys get a solid idea of, like, what is this CPU actually capable of. And for sure, like, a 7th gen i5 is not a good CPU option. Even, like, I'll list a couple CPUs here. I know this is a benchmark, but since I've got a mic, I may as well start talking, right? Couple Interesting, the guy got taken out apparently. A couple CPUs that I would definitely avoid for gaming. 4th gen i5. Any i5, even the 8th gen i5 I may avoid. 8th or 9th gen i5, both of those I would probably avoid. Yes, they are new, but they only have 6 cores and 6 cores and 6 threads, so you don't even have that hyper-threading as an option. So multi-core performance is going to be pretty bad, and especially like COD Warzone, as we're seeing here. And if you check out any of my other benchmarks, you may notice that like even those older Xeons are going to perform better than this. You'll get more consistent frame rate because COD Warzone, we're not being single core or single core performance limited here. We're kind of being multi-core performance limited because, yeah, I can tell you right now the E5-1650, which is an older 6-core 12-thread CPU, has a much lower single core performance compared to something like this here, the 4th Gen i7, but where that 6-core 12-thread CPU makes up is having those additional 2 cores, 4 threads, giving you a lot more multi-core performance, which allows you to get a higher frame rate because, yeah, we're not being CPU bottlenecked. And that's where, like, in a lot of cases, all you need for high FPS shooter games is something like an RX 570, and it's just the key difference between high frame rate and low frame rate is generally choosing the right CPU. Obviously, some games you need a good GPU, but, I mean, if you're going to summarize everything together, I think nowadays when you are looking for a gaming system and you want something that'll give you a really nice... Oh, wow. I think we're dead here, quite honestly. Wow. We almost got taken out. I will wait a second. Hopefully we can heal up. Alright, we are healing up here. What I will do, a great strategy is hit C, hit 3, get back in the driver's seat. Now after popping that UAV, we can see where the other players are. Yes, there is stutter, unfortunately. We will hit C, pop all these armor plates while we wait in the car and maybe get sniped. Alright, there we go. Hit F, get back in. But yeah, it's just, CPU performance is super interesting because it varies so much depending on what application you want to play. Alright, let's just run around a little bit more. I'm going to be playing for fun if we can't. Alright, looks like the guy just ditched his vehicle. I think we will go through here in the... Oh, there he is. And unfortunately, we kind of messed up there. Alright, we are off to the Gulag. You guys can see the Gulag performance. When I had the frame rate uncapped, we were getting closer to 9500 FPS here in Gulag. But then again, do you want to have stutter when you are in Gulag? That's one thing you need to consider. So that's why I have specifically and intentionally... I didn't even say that right. And intentionally, I have capped the frame rate. And that's where, like, I have tested, I believe, like, the 2nd Gen i7. I did cap the frame rate. Even at 60 FPS, we were still getting quite a bit of stutter. Alright, our turn is coming up shortly. But, yeah, hopefully this video did help some of you guys out there. If it does help you personally, yes, you, the viewer, please let me know in the comment section below. Because, yeah, honestly, I don't make these videos just to make videos. I make them hopefully to help someone out there who's looking to, like, trying to figure out what kind of systems to buy and stuff. I think we can win this. Oh, come on. Anyways, that is going to conclude our recording of the i7-4790 paired with the RX 570 4GB video card. If you guys have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out again. Settings, mainly testing the processor and what the processor is capable of here. Because, yeah, they're not impressive settings. You can easily get higher frame rates with the RX 570. But again, we did cap the frame rate specifically at 75 FPS to help prevent that stutter. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out in the comment section below. Thanks.